To the explainer. Today we are going deep inside the outrage machine. We're going to dissect how these brand controversies that look like total disasters are, well, they might actually be generating some surprising profits.
So you've heard the phrase, right? Go woke, go broke. You've definitely seen the headlines. Brands facing these massive boycotts for taking a stand on social issues.
It almost always starts with a hashtag, doesn't it? Something like this. And it just explodes across social media, completely fueled by pure anger.
And then we see these really visceral reactions. People literally burning shoes that they used to love. I mean, it looks like absolute chaos for these companies. So the big question is, are these billion-dollar brands just making huge, embarrassing mistakes? Or is there something else going on here? A hidden method to all this madness? All right, let's find out.
Okay, to really get this, we've got to look at what might be the perfect case study, the Bud Light controversy from 2023.
And wow, did it happen fast. A single partnership video drops on April 1st, and just a few days later, the boycott calls start. By the end of the week, it's a top trend, a national firestorm. From the outside, the outrage just looked completely overwhelming.
And yeah, the immediate financial damage was very real and honestly pretty staggering. Weekly sales plummeted by over 28% compared to the previous year. And this wasn't just a blip. This trend went on for weeks. Naturally, the shockwave hit Wall Street. The parent company's stock fell about 15%, which, get this, wiped out $4 billion with a B dollars in market value. On the surface, this just looks like a clear-cut, textbook disaster of a brand, completely misreading its audience.
So the company's response was basically a full retreat. But this attempt to please everyone, it backfired spectacularly. It ended up angering their original critics and the very community they were trying to support in the first place. It really looked like an open and shut case of a corporate blunder.
But what if those losses are only half the story? What did all of that outrage actually generate for them?
Okay, here is the hidden gain. While sales were falling, YouGov data shows that Bud Light's brand awareness, basically how many people are talking about them, exploded by 400%. The whole controversy generated an estimated $200 million in free media. You couldn't pay for that kind of attention. And this is key. While they were losing some of their traditional customers, their favorability among young consumers, a really important group for the long term, actually shot up by 35%. Why does that matter? Well, it represents a strategic, a painful one, but a strategic repositioning of the brand for the future. And get this, the brand wasn't the only one who benefited. The social media platforms raked in millions from all the engagement. Twitter, now X, maybe $20 million. YouTube, an estimated $50 million. And just look at the competition. Coors Light saw a 25% jump in sales. Miller Lite grabbed an extra 8% of the market. All of a sudden, this disaster starts to look like an event that paid dividends across the entire industry.
This all brings up a much bigger question. Was the Bud Light situation just a one-off, a unique fluke? Or does it actually follow a pretty well-established playbook for controversy?
For that, let's look at the textbook example, Nike's 2018 ad campaign with Colin Kaepernick, an athlete who was already famous for his on-field protests against racial injustice. The backlash was, as you can imagine, immediate and incredibly intense.
Nike faced the exact same initial backlash, a stock drop of over $3 billion. But here is the critical difference. Unlike Bud Light, Nike stood firm. They doubled down on their message. And the result? A stunning reversal. Their market value didn't just recover, it increased by $6 billion, cementing their status as an attitude brand with their core audience of young, urban consumers.
And believe me, the playbook gets even more sophisticated. You have Target, which surgically adjusted its pride displays state by state, basically trying to play both sides of the fence. And then there's Disney, which uses its huge portfolio as a testing ground, pushing boundaries with some franchises while customizing content for different global markets. It's all about maximizing profit everywhere.
So we can see the pattern here, but how does this machine actually work? I mean, what's the engine that's really driving it? It's actually a pretty predictable chain of events. You start with a small initial investment, maybe just a single ad. The media then amplifies it. This polarizes the audience, mobilizing both supporters and opponents to engage.
And ultimately, all that engagement leads to profit for media platforms and lets the brand successfully reposition itself. It's a machine that literally turns anger into cash.
Now, this machine has a powerful and mostly invisible engine: social media algorithms. As whistleblowers like Frances Haugen revealed, these platforms aren't just hosting the conversation, they're actually designed to promote outrage. And why? Because it maximizes engagement. It keeps our eyes on the screen.
You see, more anger means more clicks, more comments, more shares, and more time on the site. And more time on site means more ad revenue. The algorithm isn't some neutral observer here. It's an active participant, and it's pushing us all toward the extremes, because frankly, that's where the money is.
So, when we see these culture wars play out all over our screens, fueled by boycotts and brand statements and all the rest, who is the ultimate winner in all of this?
Individual brands, they might win or lose. Some, like Nike, play the game perfectly. Others, like Bud Light, they stumble. But every angry comment, every single boycott hashtag, and every supportive purchase, it all just fuels this larger outrage economy. The media platforms, the competitors, the financial markets that bet on all this volatility, they all win. The machine just gets bigger and faster.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. In a system that literally profits from our anger, where our political identity becomes just another consumer choice, what's the true cost? When our civic engagement just means choosing which product to buy or which one to boycott, what happens to the real, actual work of democracy?